Welcome to the year 2000.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and ghouls, we are back with another Goosebumps Series 2000 review and the first of the franchise's first ever two-parter, Invasion of the Body Squeezers. Wait, you ask, another Series 2000 review? Where are the reviews of the first three books? Well, dear viewer, allow me to enlighten you. A year ago, I made a cringy attempt at an angry video game nerd-style review of the first and third books in the series, Cry of the Cat and Creature Teacher, and my review of the second book, Bride of the Living Dummy, was featured in the second episode of my Living Dummy series. I've included the links to those videos in the description box below, but if you'd rather stay here, allow me to briefly cover the first three for you now. Cry of the Cat is about an undead cat who scratches people to steal their life energy. The main character, Allison, is hounded by a mad scientist and her daughter to take care of the cat, aptly named Rip, but she thwarts their plans by chucking a mouse toy at Rip, causing a legion of ghost cats to shred Rip to pieces and thereby freeing all from the tyranny of undead pussy. Bride of the Living Dummy finally gives us the story of Slappy's origins. Turns out he was created by an evil sorcerer who carved the dummy out of wood and then possessed said dummy once he was released from his mortal coil. The eponymous bride is another doll, inexplicably alive, who wants to make the main character's life a living hell. The usual sort of tomfoolery ensues, but we find out at the end that even if Slappy is destroyed, his evil can still possess other dummies, though he always comes back in the same body. Whatever, I've tried to stop making sense of the plot holes inherent in the Slappy saga, and just sit back and enjoy it. Finally, Creature Teacher is a bizarre story about Mrs. Marg, with 3 A's, an elementary teacher who is open about being a monster, and who is also hungry for the flesh of her students. She has a chart that ranks the class based on their schoolwork, and whoever is ranked last will be next on the buffet list. Our main character, Paul, is the unlucky winner of this distinction, and after a series of misadventures, including one hilarious episode in which Paul gives Mrs. Marg a chemical bottle that spells out the words, "You ugly," the Creature Teacher is lulled to sleep when Paul tickles her feet, causing her to laugh. You can't make this up. Or well, I guess you can. Now on to our main feature, Invasion of the Body Squeezers, Part 1. As I mentioned already, it is the first ever Goosebumps two-parter. How do I know that? Well, it says so at the top of the front cover. Here's to hoping that the horror won't just end up being the main character's sibling or friend playing a trick on them. That happens every once in a while. One quick thing I wanted to point out that I thought was neat was that if you line up both books together, it creates a larger image. Cool. So Invasion of the Body Squeezers Part 1 has neither an invasion nor any body squeezing going on. Maybe RL Stine is saving that for Part 2? But there is a mysterious object in the sky that NASA can't seem to figure out. It is thought to be a meteor of some kind at first, but it just sort of hovers ominously. This has piqued the interest of our protagonist, a 12-year-old dork named Jack, who is given the nickname Saucer Man by his sister Billy. Billy fulfills the role of evil little sibling in this book, and for whatever reason Jack doesn't want us to know why she calls him Saucer Man. I thought it was because he's interested in space, but Jack's reluctance makes me think there's some sort of foreshadowing going on here. Is he secretly an alien? As any avid reader of Goosebumps knows, that's a completely legitimate question. While Jack has his head in the clouds, he's also interested in something a bit closer to home. Right next door, in fact. A mysterious neighbor called only Mr. Fleshman is the object of Jack's attention immediately after watching the news report about the supposed meteor in the sky. Jack has been interested in Mr. Fleshman, who, when described, sounds a lot like Slender Man, ever since he saw a monster in Mr. Fleshman's house. Now, I've read enough Goosebumps books to know that the monster is more than likely something completely benign, and my suspicions were proven correct when Jack inevitably breaks into Mr. Fleshman's house one day. Turns out the spooky neighbor is simply a special effects expert working on a movie, and he plays an epic prank on Jack, which hammers that home. I say epic because of Jack's reaction to one of the stupidest jokes ever played on a Goosebumps character. Both he and Mr. Fleshman were out looking at the sky one night in their respective backyards. Jack turns to Mr. Fleshman, who by now knows that Jack is afraid of him, and says that he's waiting for his friends to land. Jack, being the dork that he is, says he's only joking, right? Mr. Fleshman says joking, and proceeds to shoot his eyeballs, and I quote, 6 inches from his face. What should have been blatantly obvious to normal people like you and me isn't so to Jack the dweeb. Mr. Fleshman fooled Jack with joke glasses. You know the kind, the ones you can probably find at any dollar store across the country, glasses with spring-loaded eyes. Sure, it was dark, but it's not like Jack is in his twilight years, and what kid doesn't know about these lame-ass jokes anyway? When I was 12, I was more than familiar with whoopee cushions, fake vomit, fart spray, and the like. For the love of God, don't anyone take this kid to a magic show. If they do the sawing the person in half bit, Jack might have a heart attack. Anyway, the story picks up after Jack breaks into Mr. Fleshman's house and steals a transmitter. It turns out to be some sort of mind control device, as every time he hears the voices, he says he is ready to obey. Like out loud. RL Stine has some fun with this when Jack's mom tells him to eat, to which he responds, "I will obey." Like he's some sort of Terminator or something. Not long after this, a meteorite falls to the ground, nearly killing him in the process. The space rock comes with voices as well, much to Jack's horror, as by then he had already given the transmitter back to Mr. Fleshman. The rock voices tell Jack of a coming invasion, to which Jack decides he will have to warn the people of Earth. But who will listen? Jack makes a list of 3 parties: his parents, his science teacher, and Mr. Fleshman. His parents give the usual response any parent would give, and Jack jumped out of a window in science class and shouted at the sky, ruining any chance he had of convincing his teacher. That left Mr. Fleshman. When Jack goes over to his house, he catches his awkward neighbor talking into his phone, saying he had got the transmitter back and that the invasion seems to be underway. Jack takes this information as confirmation that Mr. Fleshman is a government agent, which begs the question, why in the hell would the government leave such an important device, one used to listen in on secret alien communications, in the hands of one man? One man who is stationed in the suburbs of Randomville, USA. Why is this not in Area 51 or something? So at the end of the book, we finally get a look at one of the aliens. And it's actually legit this time and not some special effect horseshit or anything. The meteor turned out to be an incubator for the creature who, when described, looks nothing like what is depicted on the cover. But whatever, the story ends here for now, and we will have to wait for part 2 for the invasion and or all of the glorious body squeezing. Till then.
Have a scary day, everyone.
For more reviews, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell icon to be notified when new videos go live. Thanks for watching.